Hello guys, and welcome back to Strategic Command World War II World at War with our Axis playthrough. As you can see, it is winter! Russia's going to be a lot harder now as we moved into January, the beginning of 1942. In the last turn, we pretty much finished up everything that there was to do with Japan. We have this front in full swing, and we got an event at the very end where I moved Argentina like 88% or something in our direction. They're currently 81% leaning. Didn't really know what that was. Looking back at that decision, I don't think I really needed to do it. This playthrough is not going to go on so long that I think I would really make any use of that. But, whatever, 150 MPPs, I wasted more in the Allied playthrough. Let's take a look at this amazing new wintry front where every offensive is going to be even harder now with our Germans. Our 5th Panzer tanks, which has been operating just well out of its reasonable radius, let's call it, is able to do some more attacks. It can reinforce only by 1 point. Supplies at 4 where it is. It's going to be up to 5 next turn. Maybe better if I can somehow get the HQ to move further up, or move the tanks back a little more, which it would have to move all the way back here to really recover, so I'm not really sure about how much I should push that, but we do need to keep killing even in the winter. The Soviets did drop off the Mongolian Cavalry Corps from the far east over here, right in front of Moscow, but not very protected, just in the middle of basically a field with no entrenchment, barely any readiness and morale. I think I will take advantage of this to get some quick prepared attacks in with my tank. 3 damage dealt, and they're already just getting fucked up. It's an easy way to put it. We'll go ahead and attack again. It's just such an easy target. I don't think it's even worth attempting to use planes on. Let's see. Can we get anywhere where there will be amazing supply? No, not after that. But we can get in the correct direction. We just have to be wary of, for example, this corps in the rear. Dealing something along the lines of 6 damage to a cavalry corps for only 1 damage to my tanks when they were already injured anyway is a pretty good trade if you ask me. Let's look at bombing the Moscow Corps. It is upgraded with anti-air as well. However, we have ground attack upgrades and its entrenchments are not fully in there. It's right up against my armies that are already on the front. Most of the troops are still trying to catch up. I think that makes it a pretty decent target. So let's try starting with the Africa Tactical Bombers. Oh, and they have interceptors here. We have escorts. We deal 2 damage. Our fighters take 2 damage. Our bombers take 1 damage. Their fighters take no more damage. We do enough damage to lower readiness and morale a fair bit. But that definitely wasn't the best bombing ever. It's going to be harder and harder here in the winter now. And this isn't like when I played the Allies where just sitting around doing nothing was really a good idea. Because I'm on the time limit. I'm the one being outproduced in MPPs. I need to take Moscow. The longer Moscow is up, the harder this gets for me. So let's take the next tactical bomber group. Use our other escorts and do another bombing. 1 damage to their fighters, 1 damage to my bombers, and then just some more readiness and morale damage and a good chance to do some more damage. In fact, let's move our 1st army forward. Ooh, heavy tanks. Okay, maybe this will be needed somewhere over here anyway. The anti-tank could be useful. There's also my tanks. Let's try to take advantage of the weakest link in the enemy's defenses, the Moscow Corps. We dealt 3 damage with that attack and took none. Let's try again. 1 damage, took none. Alright, good. All in all, I think we came out a little bit on the up and up with all the damage we've done so far versus what we've taken. I'm going to take these paratroopers and I'm going to drop them way up here on the front. The idea I have is that there's a river here. So this is actually a pretty defensible location with the exception of from the Moscow Corps right here. None of the enemies across the river. Oh look, there's that injured army. None of them should be able to do any good attacks. Number 1, because it's winter. Number 2, because these paratroopers are pretty well upgraded. And number 3, the river. Terrain's not going to be the most helpful thing, but we're pretty ready. We're pretty pumped up morale-wise. Supply won't spread out here too well too soon, unfortunately. But it's the only unit that could get out here that was probably most apt to defend. Otherwise, we'd be relying entirely on this recon, which seems a little silly to do. For now, I think using this river as a natural defense is probably smart. we don't have the forces accumulated to try to go around this way to get behind Moscow. Since we know for sure where some enemy armor is, heavy tanks too, we're gonna force march the Africa anti-tank to, I believe Kaluga is a good spot. Somewhere defensible that's nearby that enemy tank, somewhere where I don't expect them to actually push. That's with the mobility buff as well. Really hurt the readiness and morale, but they'll be able to recover it. Supply in this region is pretty much the same as where they just were. They should be able to assist, I think, in pressing up against that heavy tank alongside the armies, at least I hope. I'm going to shift these tactical bombers up a little bit. Same thing with the Africa tactical bombers. That should leave me space to take this tactical bomber here. And I mean, I don't intend them to end up right here. I intended them more over here. But this will get them close enough to do something sooner rather than later, where they have supply. They can assist while the other ones are recovering. This is really the main spot to be, and the range should extend kind of over the same region. With the Africa reconnaissance, I'm actually just going to move it to where the tanks are. So we're going to move the tanks back, move the recon up, kind of just to keep an eye on this area. The front's pretty laid out already. This is as far south as we can get these tanks. They won't be in a good position to repair up to 10 next turn, but to 8 is something. If I remember correctly, this will unload the Africa field artillery, but I'm going to force march them up into the woods here. Yes, it will unload them, because this is the perfect range to hit the front enemy line with the artillery, and so all they really need to do is get there, taking 2 turns to get there, and then firing 2 shots a third turn versus getting them there now. Just having them reload maybe 1 per turn and firing that regularly seems about the same to me. More immediate effect. We're going to reinforce the 8th Army where it stands because it needs to reinforce still. Partisans wise, let's see, we'll move this garrison just up here. It's a better kind of point for all this, and it's in between 2 rivers, a little bit more defensible maybe. It's still a marsh no matter what. The 4th Army does need to get a move on. It can't get very far. It's a little bit off the road. It can do some forced marching at the very least. This one can go either direction, north or east. Probably filling in here sooner rather than later is the most important thing. So let's just force march the 4th Army to get it literally 3 times as far. I think that is a trade worth making. We'll take the 10th Army and move it down the street here, just behind the Africa anti-tank. These 2 will kind of fill in around here. Anti-tank itself might move up to right around there. Figure we'll squeeze in the other armies this way, or even maybe split them, send 1 up here, send another one down here, because I know we have 2 of each more remaining. So we have the 3rd Panzer tank, which is going to go... I'm not sure about force marching this one, really. It's an option, certainly. I'm afraid of getting it too close to the front, though, but it is certainly an option to get it further north faster. It can take the long way around, taking the road, but it's pretty crowded over here is kind of the main thing. We are going to reinforce these cores where they stand. They could use some reinforcement back up to normal max strength before they actually do any more moving in. This corps is going to run around to the north, probably as far as you can get. I kind of want to have... what is this? A marsh? Oh, it's all fucking marsh. Of course it is. Well, we're definitely going to move this corps out of this town, which gives me the ability to force march this corps into this town. Kind of do some recovering. We're just trying to get into position now, mostly. No crazy offensives being pushed, just trying to whittle away at them, do more damage than we take despite the weather, and get everyone into position. Get this tank to be generally pretty protected. Taking this town is not really a priority of mine. It's not that important. We can fill in here no matter what. With the front extending in the way it is, I'm gonna push these fighters forward right here, push these ones up to where they just were to kind of compact our front line here. These tanks will, in that case, yeah, it's just so crowded up here. So I'm tempted to force march them. We had one closer, but of course that had some problems. The tanks up here are going to take some time to recover anyway, because we need to get them somewhere where they'll have a little more leeway to do things. They'll need some better supply, and it's not going to spread too great from Rommel, just given the snow, probably. This whole front line is going to be a little bit hurting for supply overall, a problem that I'm sure they are not going to have. If I can get enough troops to kind of fortify Kalinin, I can get Rommel up to Kalinin. Looks like, honestly, this turn if I wanted to. Yeah, and then if I did that, we'd have supply in this region kind of permanently. Okay, well, let's try that then. Oh, actually, but here's the problem, is this spot right here. They could move up and then just attack right then and there. So we would need to actually secure across the river a little bit. So no pushing Rommel forward while we don't control this section of across the river. In that case, for now, yeah, let's just move the 3rd Panzer tanks down this way. Nice and calmly towards their destination. With that tank moved, we can now move the Von Lieb HQ forward to Oral to get somewhere to provide a little bit better supply to everything in this region. Let's actually see. Yep, that's looking better. Maybe not perfect, but definitely better. What the hell is this? Source HQ position of supply boost. What? I have no idea what that means, but this one's going to be moving up as well. Not sure to exactly where. I figure this, like, one up here eventually, one up here, one here, and one here. That's 4 would be pretty decent. If we needed a 5th one, it could stretch out a little bit. Rommel, I think, would be able to provide better supply if he didn't have snow around him. You know, I can actually just move this corps forward to claim this road for my own. And, it doesn't really fully improve supply, but I'm hoping that just owning that road might be a good way to improve supply in the region. We do have a new partisan point there to kind of worry about. What'll probably happen eventually is I'll just move Rommel back here, and I'll move von Rundstedt up here, so they kind of work side and side, just one down each road of supply. That seems like a fairly good idea once we can keep moving this giant blob. This paratrooper will take a... well, we don't want him to get in the way, actually. Let's just set him to prepare from where he is for a jump. It seems like that could be fitting. We'll have some bomber movements to do next turn. The fighters here are getting into better positions. How was that supply again? Let's move the tank forward. You can see there's enemy paratroopers over here. Ooh, okay. No infantry are really this far up. Supply is still going to be kind of meh up here, but let's move forward and take a peek. 1-to-1 odds with these paratroopers. That's not usually the odds you want to say you have, that's for sure. But tell you what I'll do. We're going to move the 4th Panzer tanks forward as well. They have a pretty good angle, better odds because they have experience. We're going to take this corps. We're going to force march it. Either to Tula or just past Tula, so we can use the bridge as a bit of a defense. Well, if they come up to me across the bridge, that's not really the worst thing. We'll just move up to Tula. And then Slovakian Corps will move forward. And then, so those guys are on the way. Just kind of bypass this altogether. Doing a lot of force marching this turn because we kind of need to get a lot of movement done. Either that or operating, but we can't operate on the front yet, so... Let's try this attack with the 4th Panzer tanks. No damage dealt. 1 damage dealt, 1 taken, so that didn't really work out very well. Let's try with the next one. 2 damage dealt, none taken. 1 damage dealt, none taken. Alright, 1 damage received overall, 4 damage dealt. Tank versus paratroopers. I say that's pretty good. This paratrooper's also shit out of luck on a way to get back unless you can operate from a front where you are engaged. I don't know if that's a thing. I can glance at someone that maybe would have the opportunity. Yeah, okay, you can. So they would have to operate to get out of there. Or they'd have to run down towards Vorodin, or just right past the tanks. So they're in a pretty bad position. 1 damage taken is really no big deal because I feel like we've secured the fate of this enemy unit. The 1st Corps here is going to force march to get around here, kind of fill in this railway, get ready to do whatever we need to do next turn. Gonna move some fighters up this way. Gonna move the other fighters this way, kind of provide some fighter coverage from the rear, and to get them into position where bombers could end up being useful in the upcoming turns down here in the south as we aim to surround Moscow and press up against it from all sides from points of supply. Von Kukler here is going to move up to Kursk. Keep supply up over there. And for the rest of this, it might just be smarter to operate them places. We can get them close enough to the front, skipping over several turns of traveling if I do. This one's already fully upgraded, 23 MPPs to operationally travel. That sounds smart to me. Let's go place this army up in the field right here. Get that army as far up north as possible. This corps is not anywhere it can actually do that, though. This one could get there just by force marching to pretty much the exact same location. So it's also a matter of, like, do we need to? We don't need to, but we will. Because we're not in a fighting position. We're in a moving through territory position. This other one will also force march its way north, just to kind of get on a railroad and to catch up all at the same time. Ooh, we got a partisan spot to worry about around Kursk. We do have some new units coming in. My first motor torpedo boat. Yay. That'll be so nice. We also have our maritime bombers. So we're basically sort of already ready for my idea of sailing the fleet into the Baltic Sea to handle the Russian ships. So let's try that, shall we? Maritime bombers will go just here for now, not an important location, somewhere we can maybe take some use of them. We'll put the motor torpedo boat off to the east because it's going to push north for us to kind of get our fleet into a position where we can kick the Russians kind of out of this region. Maybe put some permanent defenses over here by Finland. I will, however, do an obligatory check. Just moving this destroyer, there you go, down towards that port just to make sure that there isn't anybody currently on it. Now, there could just be one up here that I passed over, but what upgrades can they get? ASW. That could be very, very handy for what's to come, considering we're going after a submarine. We'll look at that later. We have to focus on the land front now. Taking Moscow and making the USSR fall is one of only 2 remaining objectives. Glancing down by the Romanians and Yugoslavians, we still have this enemy red fighter. Let's go ahead and attack that with the Romanian corps. 1 damage dealt, none taken. Let's try the Yugoslavian corps, the Dravska corps. 2 damage dealt, none taken. Okay. How's supply in this region? It's 5 right now. It's going to improve. They moved someone over to Salsk, did they? They did. Okay, let's see. I'll move the Dravska corps up along the road as a bit of a defensive fixture. We have... how is supply? Well, it's gonna change, I know that much. We'll move the Belgrade Corps north a touch. Move this HQ into its place to get some better supply spread in the region. Oh, that is so much better. We'll move this army just into the fields for right now. It'll get up to south. This is a whole army they have over here. Okay, they're actually sort of trying to meet us. Supply at Grozny will just always be good, so we'll go stop the Bosanska Corps over by Grozny. Garrisons over here are taken care of for the time being. This corps just kind of needs to go away if it can figure out how to do that. The Belgrade Corps does have a hit in them. Alright, well, let's try to use that then. Let's go move them over here and attack the enemy red fighter. And there you go. We have wiped out the enemy red fighters. They are dead. Dead, dead. I don't expect them to move their army through here. I don't expect them to be able to move their army through here. It's winter, for fuck's sake. The Romanian Corps will capture Kerch for us. The 1st Romanian army will go move down the line and help surround the enemy corps at Sevastopol. An army here, an army here. A garrison has been moved over here. Just by having this front open with the assistance of the Yugoslavians primarily at this point. They are dedicating quite a lot of stuff to a region where they probably wouldn't have to defend too much if I was this focused on Moscow as I currently am. Even with them seemingly moving just about everything that they can over there. But now the Hungarian First Army is going to reinforce. The Second Army is going to move past Kharkov, which we need a garrison on, clearly. And I suppose for now we'll kind of just hold our ground, because we're kind of just waiting on the ability to move the Hungarian armies forward to deal with the enemy army, holding this enemy town to kind of make that a relevant front. This corps is busy holding Stalino to be moved for any reason. We can't really use this tank too well in the push against Sevastopol. Maybe as more of a finishing aspect, but I'll keep the Romanians together for now. Supply over here should end up being pretty fine with an HQ on either side and HQ bonuses for everyone. That should definitely help. But actually unseating the core at Sevastopol, that will be difficult. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of anything else I can do on the front with the Soviets. Due to the winter slowing down movement and making attacks worse, there's just a standstill that's going to have to happen. But we're entering the year where I think the Soviet Union will definitely fall. Germans probably thought that too in real life, but I have pretty good feeling that we can actually pull that much off. Nothing to do really in Finland except spend money. So let's go look down to Iraq where we have the Turks. They don't really have to worry about that. So Egypt should be able to fall regardless of the winter, meaning Egypt will not be the last thing like I thought it would be. It will probably fall first since it's all desert. And then everything can just sort of reshift to Moscow. Maybe not everything, but with the way I painted the map with Iran as a pretty good buffer in between us and India, we'll be able to focus the German assets at least wholeheartedly on the entire Russian front. Imagine if we had these Turks up here as well to fill in the front and spread out the Soviets more, instead of just holding them defensively at some places, amassing at the specific location we want to full-on attack, and then slowly moving forward with coalition Axis forces everywhere else. So let's see, 5 supply. Okay, so we would definitely like to get all this stuff upgraded with better infantry weapons, that much is for sure. I think I'll take the opportunity to upgrade this corps first before the army, thinking about it. So we'll attack with the second army against the enemy Indian corps. Only 1 damage dealt. Unfortunately, we were supposed to deal 2. We took 1 damage that we were not supposed to take, but we did. It is what it is. 1 damage dealt and none taken. At this point, we're doing enough damage that I think it's fine. Besides, we're about to fucking kill the Lord Gort HQ. That's a whole fucking HQ dead, and an enemy leader permanently dead. They can both get about the same distance, looks like. So the first corps will go take the capital. And we see there's an enemy army actually sitting in Jerusalem. This is a capital, by the way, which means the Germans are probably about to plunder Transjordan for whatever pittance of MPPs that gives us. I'll also move the 5th Corps forward just down here. We want someone to end up being able to step on Aqaba if the enemies don't. Hopefully they don't have any more troops to do that. If they do, we might be able to step on Jerusalem, but I don't think they're that stupid. If we do get control of this, we might impede somehow their operations here just by owning this port. And quite frankly, the positioning makes it so that if this fighter dies, for example, we don't even need to take care of Jerusalem. We could just go straight into Egypt from this direction while leaving Jerusalem completely alone. Let's take the Italian Ariete tanks and go ahead and attack the desert reconnaissance. 5 damage dealt, 1 taken. We'll try with the core next door. 1 damage taken. We can move the tank out of the way. Like, we're just clogged up here. We can't do anything but swap in this regard. We do want to get this cleared out. 1 less enemy here is 1 less enemy here, and that's kind of a pretty big deal to have done for us. So let's just... I could try to just bomb it out of existence, too. We might get intercepted by the plane, but I think that's fine. Yeah, sure. Just try to bomb it out of existence. Interceptors, escorts. Their escorts take 2 damage, ours take 1, our bombers take none, and we shatter that enemy recon. It is dead. Good. Very good. I think I'm going to prioritize getting elite reinforcements on these armies, maybe. We might just want more research, but I think the extra damage that could be got against a core by coming in with elite reinforcements on top of XP is going to be pretty useful. So I'm going to prioritize that, because it'll allow us to approach Cairo with a better situation in our hands, certainly. Although I will also, now that I did that, need to wait another turn before moving an HQ up onto this town, which would really be important for supply in this region. We have a prepared attack with the 10th Army that I feel like I might as well just take. I can't move him back anywhere where he'd be able to get his own elite reinforcements, so let's just try. No damage dealt, none taken, but certainly probably lower the readiness morale a little bit, so that's good, I guess. can't be anywhere where we'd want to be for the tank to be able to recover, not with the supply situation. But I still think getting that elite reinforcements in is going to be pretty important. I'll move the core down here to kind of expand the front. I doubt we're going to lure them away from Cairo, so that doesn't really matter. You know, it would be really funny, actually, if we move the tanks here, the Ariads. Move the Gazoni HQ on top of this hill. Now, all of a sudden, supply on the front's going to be absolutely fantastic in comparison to what it was going to be. Everybody, including the tank, will be able to resupply. We leave this open for them to maybe like, oh, maybe I can move across here. No, they won't because we have so much zone of control. Wouldn't that be so funny if they did to attack the HQ? But this kind of solves the supply problem all by itself. Speaking of, we can also then go ahead and just move forward our air a little bit more into some better defended locations. This core can kind of just linger in the rear. That would probably do for the time being. That would probably work out. And we could check down by Ethiopia, where we have the remaining enemy Sudanese Corps. Let's go ahead and try to deal with that, starting with, I guess, the Abyssinia Corps. 2 damage dealt, 1 taken, but we do have our first full XP point on the Abyssinia Corps. Reinforcing would make us lose that, but we'll attack with the 2nd Corps next. 3 damage dealt, none taken. Yeah, the Sudanese Defense Force Corps is going to die next turn at this rate. Ooh, this HQ supply is like terrible, man. Oh god. But we take this, we take Malakal, we have a better place to operate in this region, maybe recover. Go ahead and claim Khartoum for ourselves and all of Sudan. Italy taking things over is only ever a good thing if Germany could never have reached it. Because that's more MPPs for Italy. So long as there's no partisans to worry about, because that costs money. The Italians winning things? I mean, that's just unheard of. Looking at Germany's other things, we'll go ahead and reinforce the Deutschland Heavy Cruiser. We'll get some upgrades, some ASW onto the Admiral Graf Spee Heavy Cruiser out here. Don't really know what it's going to do with it, but the front line is pretty much fully taken care of, and we have 660 MPPs to spend. That could go basically anywhere. The Italian subs are going to just keep doing what they're doing, I suppose. I'm not seeing any signs of any ships moving out here. I don't think they are actually on their way over here. Therefore, let's go and oh my god. Go find a Canadian Columbia destroyer coming down here to make my life a little more complicated. I'll move this Leonardo da Vinci across one. See what this does. Maybe I'll just look at the Axiom and not the Leonardo. We want to keep as much rating going as possible, generally. Good news, the enemy carrier is just way more vulnerable this turn than it was before. Let's get out of silent mode. We don't need that. Let's go ahead and do an attack with the U-73 sub. Dealing 3 damage. Whoo, okay, and we have more subs that can come over here, as we know. The next one best suited to take a strike is probably the U-32. We're just like fucking surrounded though, aren't we? The U-37 might have a better chance of like one-shotting it though. A lot of my subs can trade some pretty good odds with enemy destroyers, and honestly at this point that might be nice, because it's just like, oh, there's just so many of them. And if we have a sub that can take out a destroyer, it's better than risking my actual, more expensive surface fleet. I mean, how much is a sub? Let's find out. It is 200. I mean, that's still pretty expensive. More than a destroyer, technically. Compare it to a, I don't know what else. Battleship, of course not. Oh man, where do we not have like, oh, I guess these are our cruisers. Not as much as a heavy cruiser. We don't make light cruisers, do we? Okay. Well, maybe we try to avoid fighting enemy destroyers? I don't know, but we do need to get some guys out of here. Let's just, for now, I think, see if we can one-shot it with the U-37. Okay. Enemy courageous carrier sank. We've sank another enemy carrier. They just keep feeding them to us while letting us hurt all their destroyers. Good shit so far. I think that's a pretty productive episode, however, so hope you guys are enjoying the series. For now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.